let's talk about short-term accommodation, STA or respite in the disability sector, or NDIS more specifically. Hey everybody, my name's Jackie Grant. If you're listening to this on our Spotify, remember to like and follow. If you're listening and watching this on YouTube channel, remember to like, subscribe and follow just so that you can stay up to date. All right, so a lot of providers have been reaching out saying my invoices are being declined, or I'm now in payment like they're being investigated for STA. So STA has made some changes. Okay, so when a person has STA funding, it's actually broken down into, so it's set as a group rate and to be run in a centre. Now, if that is the case, then the STA funding will cover the accommodation, the support worker. That's a given between the centre-based and then individuals, so say staying at a hotel, for example. Then this is where it starts to differentiate. If it's in a centre or a group setting, then it can, the cost can include activities such as, the activities that you may organise for the person or the people, because it's a group, and food. But if, and some places actually that run it as a centre or a group setting, they actually do cover. I don't know that they're they're including this to charge NDIS, I can't say, but they do say that, look, we cover the travel expenses. But normally travel to the centre or the venue from home is not covered by NDIS under STA, so that travel cost is not included. If you want to charge travel, you need to discuss it with the participant and their plan manager or their planner as appropriate, however the funding is managed. But what they won't cover, so you can't use STA funding for that transport if you're not providing the services in a group setting, so it's an individual one, then food and activities is not covered. Just to be really clear, so transport's not covered to the venue and home again, and food is not covered, and activities. Now, once upon a time, this was all broken down into that rate. So a few years ago, that's where that was. It's changed recently, and they are still, I believe they are still working on it even further. What on the NDIS website for changes, NDIS legislation, frequently asked questions, the link is in the description of this. If you're listening on Spotify, it's in the description. The link is in there. The link is also at the end of the video if you're watching the video on YouTube. So you can go and read this for yourself. Definitely encourage you to subscribe to this page or follow this page or bookmark this page and check it regularly. There's always updates. It was last updated on the 11th of March. Depending on when you're listening to this, that's subject to change. Okay, so it's just for date reference and clarity. It's the 13th of March. 2025 today. So if you listen to this in April, chances are it's been updated again. Anyway, so what they won't cover for, so STA is designed for people who live with family members to give those family members a break. So if family members go with the person, it's not STA. Okay, the whole idea is to have a break from the informal supports. So that would be a whole other financial arrangement. It doesn't cover, as we said, transport. It doesn't cover things like accommodation or travel expenses for the family member or the support worker. Okay, so it will cover the accommodation for the person with the NDIS plan, but not the support worker. If you're going to an individual place, then like a hotel, and it's a one-to-one scenario, not a group or centre-based STA, then it won't cover the food or the activities you do, but it may cover some transport between the accommodation and the activities if the person would normally need assistance with that travel expense. If they don't normally need that assistance related to their disability, then no, that's not covered either. It doesn't cover the day-to-day living costs such as food or meals. In some cases, though, the provider, as part of the STA in the group or centre settings, may choose to include that in what they're charging. Now, if a participant requires support while on a holiday, for example, then they can continue to use their usual non-STA funding. So the line item number is different. So for support work. Now, there have been a lot of questions around actually using the STA line item numbers because they are a significant amount. So you would actually need to justify that if you're taking a person on as an individual, so it's just you and the participant, and you're going somewhere to stay like in a hotel or an Airbnb, and you use that line item number, you're really going to have to justify why you're charging that amount. And the way to do that is to break down and say, okay, the accommodation is this and the support work is this. Because remember, charging the maximum rate when that's for a group or a centre can raise alarms in the NDIS. Now, the other thing with STA is it's up to a maximum of 14 days at one time, so continual 14 days. There's only 28 days of the year that a person can access STA. Now, this moment in time, on the 13th of March 2025, I do this for date reference because it's subject to change. It doesn't have to be stated in their funding, but if a person lives on their own, they can't claim that line item number, okay? If they're not living with informal supports, if they live in SIL, so supported independent living, they can't claim STA. So it's something to be really mindful of, and it is really something to watch carefully because I do hear from providers on a daily basis that their STA invoices are being rejected. So it's where, the family members want us to take the person away. Okay, yes, that's a break from their informal supports. But it's also what else is going on with everything as well. I do apologise for that background noise. I did try to keep this to a minimum. So the thing is that I really encourage you to subscribe to this frequently asked questions pages around the legislation because things are changing all the time. It's really important that you understand what you're invoicing for and how you're invoicing. The payment integrity team does look at a lot of invoices now. They are slowly working through people. So if they get a complaint, if a person runs out of funding, that can be a trigger for a payment lock. If you're in payment lock, it can take a minimum of 60 days to resolve, in some cases a lot longer. And if you're in a payment lock and you can't continue to provide the support because you can't pay your staff or you can't pay yourself because you're not getting paid and you decide to not continue providing support, you must have a contingency plan in place for your people. And STA is something that is causing a lot of plans to run out of funding a lot quicker. So this is something that is still being reviewed. It's still being watched closely. And I encourage you to be very, very clear in what it is that you're providing when it comes to STA as well. So this is just a short little thing just to help you get some updates, but definitely subscribe to the ndis.gov.au/changes-NDIS-legislation /frequently-asked-questions-about-legislation. I encourage you to subscribe to that page or bookmark it because there are constantly changes, plans, variations. So the other thing you might want to check out is the changes to participants' plan management. So that's recently been updated as well. They do risk assessment now. There's a lot of changes. There's a link there also for providers. So at the moment, we're not seeing any major changes there. However, it's just really important that you actually stay up to date. There's changes coming around mandatory registration as well. As we know, some of the submission papers that have been submitted, they're now releasing those reports as well around SIL. Support coordination project is going to take about 12 months, I believe. So just worth keeping an eye on these pages. It's really important because that's where the legislation changes come in, and that's where they just instantly make changes. Once that legislation change has been updated, and it becomes their new practice at the in the NDIS, the planners will start implementing it. So, yeah, and plans running out of funding, when the planners see that, they are reporting it to the payment integrity team, and that's where providers are finding themselves in payment locks. So just have a think about how you're running your business. Make sure you're always documenting things. Make sure you've got your policies and procedures in place. Make sure you're doing risk assessments. Make sure you're working towards the participants' goals, even for STA as well, because all of this comes up with the payment integrity team. It can come up with work health and safety, which sits outside of the NDIS as well. Also, the NDIS Code of Conduct plays into all of this as well. So really important that you check in with your business. You do business health checks, which we have available as well, but you're also taking care of your business in a way that you're always forward thinking. And staying up to date with legislation changes is one of those things. So I hope that helps. There's always going to be more updates and everything, which is why I encourage you to bookmark this page. Frequently asked questions about the legislation. We do know that they said it was going to take about 5 years to bring everything in. We also know that we've got an election year, so things are subject to change as well. So hang in there, be patient. If you end up in payment lock, you can reach out to myself because they're going to ask very specific things: support logs, timesheets, invoices, case notes or shift notes, progress notes, whatever name you want to give that, your risk assessments, your potentially your care plans, how you're working with the goals, your continuous improvement for your business. You may need to demonstrate that as well. And all of this then comes to, how does your policy, so how does this relate to your policy and procedure? Are you implementing your policy and procedure? So STA can trigger a payment lock, or at least a please explain your invoices, and this is happening a lot. So stay up to date, you've got this, and back yourself.